Hi. For those of you who don't know, I am Augie, short for August. Welcome to my channel. This is the first video I've ever made, so it's gonna suck. I've never edited before, I've never acted before. Some experience with theater, but that's in the pit orchestra. Welcome to TBI Survivor. This is a channel where I intend to make videos chronicling my ups and downs, my daily wins and losses. Maybe share victories and hopefully give you some inspiration. If you think you need inspiration, I'm happy to help. I could give you a little bit of a backstory, I suppose. Most of you, I think, initially, most of you probably already know my story. I am a 45-year-old man in the suburbs of Chicago. Aside from trips and such, I've pretty much been here my whole life. Last year, while working, I was hit by a car. I suffered a traumatic brain injury and a broken jaw. There is a scar here, but it was done by a plastic surgeon, so he did a good job. But there's a scar, a big one here right in the middle of my forehead, and that's the work of a trauma surgeon. So there's a difference. I spent maybe 3 weeks, a little more than 3 weeks, in ER and ICU. Diffuse axonal injury, otherwise known as a shearing event. You have axons in your brain. They're little, I'm not a doctor, they're little fibers in your brain that help transmit between the left and right side of your brain, I think. A shearing event means basically some of or a lot of the axons broke loose. They will find their way and reconnect, not necessarily in the right place, but you will definitely, if you experience that, you'll definitely need to learn how to walk again, balance again, talk again, everything. Not fun. That was 18 months ago. No, that's not accurate. This is number 9 months, 4 from 20, yeah, about 20 months ago. Physically, intellectually, I think I've recovered. Mentally, emotionally, I have not. I'm a wreck. Creating plans, maintaining friendships, relationships. They're not going as easily as they used to. Um, there's there was a lot of time. So right, okay, so 3 weeks in ICU. I was then transferred to rehab hospital, downtown Chicago, flagship location, Shirley Ryan Ability Labs. I can't say enough for my time at Shirley Ryan. To be honest, I don't remember a lot of it. I do have a few memories that stick in my head. Um, the first morning that I was there, I rolled out of my room because I should not be walking at that point. I was not recovered. So yeah, I rolled out of my room and I look up and down the hallway at these new surroundings, and there were a lot of hard cases. I was up on the 25th floor of Shirley Ryan. That's the brain injury floor. And I saw other patients chewing on bandages, drooling, and just I told myself at that moment, I don't belong here. So I worked my butt off to get out. Everybody there was, I, I made great friends with other patients on the floor. All of the staff were fantastic. I have nothing bad to say about it. I just knew that I didn't want to be there anymore. So, physical therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy, every day for about a month, a little less than a month. And they felt I was ready to be discharged. So, my father and my girlfriend and myself, really, all decided that I wasn't yet ready to live on my own. So, under the care, the close supervision of my girlfriend and my father, I stayed at her apartment, leaving my house vacant. I then started outpatient rehab 5 days a week at a different Shirley Ryan location, one that's closer to home. I remember almost everything about that time. There's 10 weeks, 5 days a week. outpatient for more physical therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy. Everybody there was fantastic. I still go there once a month for group therapy, which is nice. So anyways, I got discharged because I finished their therapy program May of last year, towards the end of May of last year, 2024. After that, there wasn't, I don't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. I had attorneys to help with the legal side of my injury. They suggested strongly that it would be easier for them and their case if I were to return to work. So, after several more appointments with a neurologist, with several neurologists, and starting weekly or bi-weekly psychotherapy, also then obviously walking every day, I did a lot of walking every day. I got to a point where I was confident enough to return to work. Maintaining the therapy in case I might come up with PTSD or something like that. The winter months with my job are easy. I used to locate underground utilities, so in the winter in Chicago, contractors aren't digging holes all that often because the ground is pretty frozen. So they do allow you to have a few hours every week so they can maintain health insurance. Or so you as an employee can maintain health insurance. But most of it is you bum around 5 or 5.5 days a week, and then 1.5 days a week you go to work. As the weather warmed up this spring, in Chicagoland 2025, spring started pretty early. The workload increased substantially, and it got to a point where I was getting flustered with the changes of my day. Things that I couldn't control were really starting to bug me. I had also caught myself a couple of times thinking about cutting corners on my job. Now, anybody who has any job, you know your job. You know it well enough. You do it all day, every day. You know your job. You know where you can cut corners. Everybody does cut a corner here and there. But in my profession, in that field, it doesn't matter how much you know. It doesn't help anybody to cut corners. So that's realizing that I had that ability to cut corners, or that willingness to cut corners, that was frightening. The increase in workload was beginning to be problematic for me. And then during a daily team phone call, my boss had said that another technician in a different district had been hit by a car as well. He was fine. Apparently he didn't have any injuries. But all that combined, I parked the car and I wrote an email to my boss and his boss. I can't do this anymore, guys. So I quit. That was start of April, I think. Since then, this is now September 1st tomorrow. So, yeah, like 5 months. I don't have any direction. It's hard to be excited about anything. I've got a garage full of wood shop tools. I used to do all sorts of fun crafts and build things for other people. In fact, the camera is right next to a 3D printer that I've got. Just off camera over here is an arcade machine I had been building before I got hit for my buddy Rick. Sorry, Rick, it's not done yet. So yeah, I don't use any of the tools in my garage anymore. I don't know what to do with my life. There is one thought, and it's a crazy thought. When I was inpatient in the hospital at Shirley Ryan, there was a fair amount of downtime. You can imagine that they're not working you too hard through your physical therapy, speech therapy, all of that stuff. One, because I was pretty much bedridden most of the time, and two, I had a broken brain. So they're not riding you too hard. There was a lot of downtime in my room. And I started watching a lot of YouTube. I don't remember how I got onto it, but I started watching a lot of sailing YouTube channels. A lot. It sort of became habitual. I started learning a lot about sailing, open blue water sailing, open ocean sailing. I knew, though, that a regular sailboat wouldn't do. The problem I have with that is when you're sailing along in a regular or a monohull, they call it, at an angle, they call it heeling over. It's perfectly normal. Every sailboat does it. I don't think that I could stay, at that angle for long at all. So I fell in love with catamarans, multi-hulls. Once I realized how awesome the catamaran would be, that I spent the next 8 months telling everybody that I was going to buy a big-ass catamaran with whatever money my lawyers got. November last year, maybe, I found out my lawyers aren't going to get me anywhere near as much money as they told me they would. Like 10% of what they told me they would get me. None of it seemed worth it. It's like, you're going to, yeah. I'm going to have brain problems the rest of my life. I'm going to have titanium in my jaw the rest of my life, and you're going to pay me pennies. But I was healthy. Sort of. So, in all of my YouTube research about sailing, I came across something called the Great Loop, America's Great Loop. It's approximately a 6,000-mile journey down the eastern central river system. Like in my case, it would be the Illinois River to the Mississippi. And you can take the Mississippi all the way to the Gulf. I think most people go over Ohio, the Tenn-Tom, which is Tennessee, and the river, and the Tombigbee River. And then you go down, loop around. Once you're in the Gulf, you can loop around, obviously, the bottom of Florida and hit all the Keys, or you can cut across roughly the middle of Florida, the Okeechobee Waterway, fun to say, and then back up the east coast of the United States, the Intercoastal Waterway, and then you can take it up towards Canada, and once you hit Canada, turn left. There's a lot of different ways you can go up there. Erie Canal and the Trent Severn Waterway in Canada. But you make your way back to the Great Lakes, eventually back to Lake Michigan and to Chicago. And then, for me, that's where I would have started, and that's where I would end. I've done an insane amount of research. I've never put this much effort. I've never researched something so much in my life. I think that that's what I need to do. This is why Captain Brain here is wearing a sailor hat. He's not just Augie's brain, he's Captain Brain. So, this channel if you choose to subscribe, and if you like my video, it's quite probable that you're going to see my trials and tribulations, my ups and downs, my adventure around America's Great Loop. I would be ready to go tomorrow, but I just don't have a boat. At least not big enough. Not one that's big enough to do it safely. 30 feet minimum is recommended. Shallow draft, which means below the water line, you really don't want to be anywhere more than 4 feet. I think 5 feet is probably the deepest of a boat you can have. But there are certainly areas where you want to be less than that. We've got a couple of stubborn politicians here in Chicago. So we do have a couple of bridge clearances here that you're going to need to be lower than. There is one down in Lamont, which is a little bit south of me, not very. It's like a 19-foot something clearance. I remember hearing or reading something about another 17-foot somewhere else, and maybe something 15-foot up in Canada. But there's tons of boaters that do the Great Loop, and it's likely that that's just not a popular direction to go, because everybody else has something that's taller than 15 feet for the most part. Yeah, I don't know. If you've sat and listened to all of this, I am happy to answer any and all questions that you can come up with. It's been a long, weird, and difficult journey. And I haven't even bought a boat yet. So yes, any future videos that come out and I post on my channel, they may very well be, hey, I got a boat. Hey, come watch me fix my boat or get my boat ready. Which, if you're going to do the Great Loop, you should really be leaving Chicago right now. Maybe another month, 5 weeks. ChatGPT told me if I leave on Halloween, I could be in Key West for New Year's Eve. It doesn't sound like a bad idea. So, thank you for watching all of this. I hope I didn't bore you too much. I hope to be able to be making more videos for you. They are going to be rough until I get some experience. We'll go through how difficult it is to plan for a damn near year-long 6,000-mile journey. Yeah, hopefully you'll come back because I've posted another video, in which case that would very likely mean that I bought a boat, and maybe I'm even southbound, getting ready, heading down the Mississippi, the mighty Miss. Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah, I don't know how to end a video. Happy sailing, fair winds. Fair winds seems like a good way to end it for now. So, thank you for listening.